You're listening to the We Are Libertarians podcast network. Find all of our shows at wearelibertarians.com.
How does PwC take your company to the leading edge? They bring the sharpest minds in tech to your team, so you can bring the ideas that will transform your business. They're passionate about your industry, so you can walk into any room with every advantage. And they're with you every step of the way, so you can know you're headed in the right direction. PwC builds for what's next, so you can get there now. Get started at pwc.com/us/leading edge.
At IKEA, your dreams can come true. Well, maybe not the ones where you're being chased by a monster. We're talking about kitchen dreams. And there are IKEA products and solutions for all of them. Whether it's a whole new kitchen, a statement glassware set, or just new cutlery. If you got big dreams or small dreams in any size of budget, IKEA can help you bring them to life. Visit IKEA.us/dreamkitchen to learn more. Dream the possibilities.
You know, you're sassy today.
What? Yeah. I am full of sass and anger.
Hold on.
All right, let's get back to some boring subjects.
Understand the risk to our country.
Freedom brings people together.
You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Welcome to We Are Libertarians. And I guess you're listening to the Chris Spangle Show, too, in the feed. Harry refuses to be a part of that, though. All right, stay tuned. I don't know what we're talking about. We've talked about a few things, but who knows what we'll get to. We're all in a mood. We're all in a bad mood today. Rhinehold perpetually, but Harry and I specifically. So stay tuned and we'll find out what's on everybody's mind.
Warning, this show is for adults, produced by semi-adults. So the language is sometimes strong and offensive.
I don't know what I said.
Welcome to We Are Libertarians, where our goal is to help you sound smarter while talking to your friends. We examine current events from a libertarian perspective while treating modern politics with all of the irreverence it deserves.
There has been lie after lie.
We toss out the screaming heads, put people before political parties, and give context to the news to make you think. Now, here's our host, a 15-year veteran of politics and media, Chris Spangle.
I guess it's 20 now. 15, yeah. Oh, is my headphones, are my headphones so loud you can hear that?
Yes, I can hear it.
Not that I haven't memorized it in my head before.
I know. It's
Still
after like 20 years in radio, I'm so deaf. My voice is not doing well because the seasonal change, so forgive me. The seasonal change always affects my voice, and it gets dry. And then, on top of that, I was in Atlanta last week for the pat-down party, and I was screaming and talking all weekend, so my voice has sounded like this for a week now. So, Harry, welcome.
Thank you. So you really were shouting your voice out at the Pacer opener.
I was, yes. I'm excited about that. Tilt that towards your mouth a little more.
And then probably at the turn-in point.
The turning point, Tucker at turning point?
No, the turn-in point ATL car meetup that happened in Atlanta last weekend.
It was off the chain.
Yeah.
And then Rhinehold, how are you?
I'm doing well.
All right. Make sure you talk directly into that mic because we got so much processing in here because the heat's on now. And now, Harry, you said before we started that you're angry. Anything we can talk about?
Most of it is, I will say it is like just dealing with work stuff. Mostly it is like processing work because it seems like everyone is on edge with their technology. And I get it because it is a lot of enshittification of so many different programs.
Yeah.
And then they come to IT thinking it's our fault that we did this. We changed the UI. We messed with this. Like, I have no control over that. I'm learning this as you are. Or
can you define that term and we're going to curse, enshittification?
I didn't curse. It's a part of a word. And the enshittification.
Technical term.
Yes, technical term. Enshittification.
Cory Doctorow, was it? I think it was Cory Doctorow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what does the actual term mean?
All right. my definition, I should say, is enshittification is when a product really starts off really neat, it's really cool, and then they just kind of get worse and lose features over time, and everything just starts getting worse and terrible.
Sort of like a society, American society then.
No, American society is getting better and better over time. We have dips.
It's not a straight linear line, unfortunately. It's a lot of this.
Yeah,
Fair point.
A lot of dips.
And we're right here right now.
Yeah,
Right now we're in a dip.
It really does feel like that. It feels like we are in COVID again. You know, during COVID, when not like 2020, where we're all in this together. Let's watch some Lindsay, what's his face videos. The little guy from Tennessee. Hey y'all, that guy. Let's all talk about Tiger King and take a walk together. That kind of period was a little okay. Mm-hmm. I'm talking like 2021, late 2021, where we're all just at each other's throats. Yep. Everything feels propagandized around us. People are making excuses for big government. It feels like that tension, societal tension that bleeds into individual relationships.
Yeah.
And then and it's not just politics. It's the fear of AI. It's the economy being, really squeezed. We're all legitimately sitting here going, hey, I mean, if you're a libertarian and you think at some point it's going to happen because you've listened to a million Ron Paul and Peter Schiff video, you're like, at some point this whole thing's coming down. The AI bubble's going to burst.
Oh, yeah.
Am I going to have a job? It really feels like it just feels like we're back in 2021.
Yeah, right now you're seeing a lot of manipulation of data. Things are okay.
Yeah.
The things are being used to prop things. Like we got a government shutdown right now. I don't know if you noticed it or not.
Not really.
But what's happening is that the administration is literally taking money from place here and moving it over to place here against all regulations and laws. He's not supposed to be able to do this in order to make it all seem okay.
Have soldiers been affected? I thought soldiers had been paid through past shutdowns, but this one, they're not?
No, they're getting paid, but they're getting paid from a fund from other funds that aren't supposed to be used for that purpose.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yes, rule of law. I kind of don't care, Rhinehold.
It's a thing too. But
like as long as they're getting their paychecks, good.
But the whole thing is just allowing it to continue on instead of the pain point making them not do it. Now they're like, well, we smoothed it out. We could just keep doing this for a while and making things worse and worse and worse because it's eventually, like a lot of things, going to collapse. And when it collapses, it's going to be a lot more painful than if they just dealt with it to begin with.
For sure. I mean, you look at just the whole debt situation and Social Security and how many people depend on Social Security in our lives, our friends, our family. There's a third haircut coming in the next decade. Yeah. Like your aunts, uncles, grandparents, you're going to have it. Yeah. Some of us in this room are going to get a third less of their check.
Yes.
Overnight.
Yeah. Real quick.
And there's no political solution and no will to solve it.
Yeah. And the worst generation, I mean, the boomers, they're not really good at having like these financial discussions with the other generation. Yeah. They'll hit financial issues and then they'll reverse HELOC their houses that they own.
Yeah.
So
it's called guilt for hoarding all the money.
Yeah, guilt and shame.
Well, it's not just the hoarding the money that's the problem. The problem is that they wanted things so good that they were willing to build off this debt, borrow money on a credit card basically for years and years and years and years, knowing that someone else would end up paying for it. Yeah. So they're living high on the hog on somebody else's dime and then going around talking to everybody about how they should be self-sufficient and they should stand up on their own, pull themselves by the bootstraps. Meanwhile, they're living off their kids and their grandkids' work.
Yeah, that really, I think, is why Gen Z, their priorities are so much more like my grandparents' generation, the greatest generation, who grew up during the Depression and passed away with $1 million in their savings account.
Yeah.
Because they didn't trust the markets. Gen Z, really, millennials, I feel like we have a lot of excess. Like we feel like we should live the way that our parents lived. I grew up in a comfortable house with all the cable packages and went to dinner all the time and because that's what my boomer parents did. And I'm like, I should have that life. But Gen Z seems to have more of a, no, I'm going to save first, buy a house, have family, kid, like much. I see the characteristics of these surveys and the Gen Z kids that I meet through various networking groups. Their values are much more in line with Grandpa John and Grandma Virginia.
Yeah.
My mom's parents.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because some of the Gen Z kids I talk to, and they tell me, like, well, how do I get to where I was? How do I, how do I get that? I was like, perfectly honest, I did that old school, like, married my high school sweetheart, didn't go into massive debt, didn't have kids before being married. Those little small little things helped me get where I'm. I'm saying it's the only path, but that, old school path did help.
Okay, student loans.
Yeah, student loans. Yeah, you don't want those. I dabbled and played with some student loans. Those suck. Those are not designed to be paid back, by the way.
Yeah.
Those are.
But it's really cool, though, that Trump has finally come out and decided to pay off a bunch of student loans for people.
So this you triggered something in my brain. The success sequence. Have you ever heard of this?
I think I have.
So AEI in 2022, AEI is the good conservative think tank. They're the ones left. Old Rhinehold of theirs making faces, but that's because he thinks he's a centrist, but we know. We'll talk about name calling later. But the success sequence, Brad Wilcox wrote this. Actually, it came from the Brookings Institution, so you should love it. Ron Haskins and Isabel Sawhill. And the success sequence was basically like, if you do these 5 things, then you're going to be successful. And I can't get to the summary quick enough.
What is it? Graduate high school.
Yeah, and it basically was...
Don't go into debt, don't borrow.
I've got to try and find the actual...
Well, that's one of the
my dad used to tell me, tried to drill that into my head when I was a kid, say, don't borrow money to pay. If you can't pay it with cash, you can't afford it. And save up the money if you want something and get it. And I was like, but Dad, I get this credit where I can pay for it. I can get it now and pay for it over time. And then I don't have to, instead of putting it in a savings account and then paying out of it, I can just pay it off time here. Never calculating interest. Not understanding how a lot of people live. And some emergency comes up, I'm not prepared for it. My dad was completely right. It took me 20 years to figure it out. And I finally was able to tell him before he passed away that I should have listened to you. You were completely right.
So it's Wendy Wang and Brad Wilcox that actually wrote it. And Brad Wilcox has a great book called Get Married, which is I highly recommend. So basically, I looked up ChatGPT. It's based on sociological research identifying a simple 3-step behavioral pattern strongly associated with avoiding poverty and achieving upward mobility in the U.S. The sequence goes like this. Finish at least high school, get a full-time job, marry before having children. Yep. And if you do those 3 things in order, like if you have kids before you get a full-time job, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
But basically, if you do those things, and so 97% of millennials completed all 3 steps in the sequence that who completed it were not poor by their mid-30s.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, like, we complain about boomers, but if you look at millennials, think of our buddy Jeremiah over there at the Boss Hog of Liberty.
Yep.
Highly recommend their episode with Tom Saunders this week. He's on the White House Historical Association, so he's got some things to say. But, think of our buddy Jer. Him and Sarah are married. He's had a full-time job since he was 16. He's literally worked at the same place. He's 42 now, literally worked at the same place since 16. If Jeremiah is not close to retirement, like you get a job, and a lot of millennials now are coming into, this is what my buddy Rusty, who used to run the RV place, said. Their number one customer at their RV plant before they sold it to Marcus Lemonis was millennials now, post-pandemic. It was no longer greatest generation, older boomers. It was millennials because they had jobs and they were out there just like wanting to make smart decisions about vacations. And so RVing is more fun.
And they're also not having a bunch of kids early on, especially early on. Like, they're taking their time. They're doing it when they think they have the money to do it. And they're having a kid or 2. Like, they're not like, and now you've got all these people politically are trying to get more people having kids because they're afraid of things, the great replacement
the great
theory,
replacement theory.
But
I'm on the have more kids if you can.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing,
there's caveats, right? There are people who can't.
It shouldn't be like a social requirement for you. It should be social pressure to do it.
You shouldn't be looked down upon.
But what happens is you've got all the boomers who are now retired retired, and who's paying for their Social Security? We got a declining population.
Sure.
Because of that. And that's why they're wanting everybody to have more kids. Because if they don't, they're going to have to bite the bullet and import people in and immigration-wise, and that's not what they want.
Well, it's the have kids thing from a political perspective always seems to me like we're tools of the state. Like you should have kids because it's spiritually, physically, emotionally, mentally enriching. And if you don't, that's your choice. If you can't, I can sympathize at least because we had 5 miscarriages before Matthew and it was very difficult. But like I look at it, I'm glad I didn't have kids until I was almost 40 because I was a child. But I also think I would have grown up a lot faster, a lot sooner had I had kids. I do think men need responsibility in their lives and a wife, family, jobs. You're meant as a human being to start institutions, whether that institution is a family, a nonprofit, a business. You're supposed to be cultivating goodness around you in some form or fashion.
Planting the tree in a different sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's explain that.
What is the old saying that like a good person will plant the tree of knowing the shade they will never sit under it. It's
sure.
It's for the next generation. Those institutions, stuff like they really aren't for you. They're for the people that will come after you.
Yeah, I think we have become so short-sighted and this is the argument that conservatives make against the city. It's just sort of like a playground for grown-up kids as opposed to having like a sense of duty and responsibility in your life.
Yeah.
Like I think now, and I would identify with that somewhat, but like I think now, like I look at my grandparents and their faults, and my parents did a lot to try to correct those things, but had their faults. My wife and I are trying to correct our differences, and so my kids, when you compare them to George and Ollie Risley, are going to be night and day 4 generations later because of like institutionalizing, hey, these are the lessons we learned. Don't do these things. Like from to put it in spiritual terms, like the difference between my wife and I in terms of just like I had secular parents. I had to learn everything about Christianity in the last 20 years. My wife has grown up in that culture, in that environment, and it's just baked in her in a way in 30 years that it's not there. So like our kids will have such a greater knowledge of the wisdom of our faith. And so like you're thinking ahead long term, it's the poverty argument. This is the argument we talked about in the last episode. It's like I'm so much further ahead economically than people who grew up in poor areas of the city because of that advantage. So it's like thinking long term about what are these things actually going to mean.
Financial education is also like one great thing you pass on to kids and help people out. Unbeknownst to a lot of different people, they do teach you how to do a lot of this stuff in class. You probably weren't paying attention. That's where I learned a lot of it. Helping my wife like understand different things or other people. Like when I say student loans aren't designed to be paid back, what does that mean? Is because if you look at it, it is really designed as a reverse annuity, and you're not the recipient. You're the pay pig.
Explain that.
What, pay pig or reverse annuity?
Just about both, yeah. I mean, I understand what you mean, but like I think people hear annuity and aren't sure of the word.
So like, all right, annuities are basically, think of it like you have a settlement or something like that, and you're getting paid out by it.
So you can get an annuity for retirement, and you pay $50 a month into this annuity for 20 years, and then they send you a check when you get retired.
It gains interest and pay you back.
Right.
This one's reversed, where you're paying this, and someone else is getting paid back a massive amount. I think one thing I was passing around our chat for the longest time was I went to the Dave Ramsey calculator, the retirement calculator, and I just said, like, what if you took the 4-year degree, the money from a 4-year degree, just threw it in a 401k and did nothing else, right? You did nothing else. You spent like 6 years of your life just dumping all this cash in your 401k and never paid into it, and it showed like, by the time you're 67, it's over $5 million. Yes, I think college can be a racket. It costs too much. It is important, but like the price of it, like I don't know, man. Do you really want your 4-year degree, or you want to retire a millionaire? Really?
Plus, what people don't realize nowadays is a lot of that stuff that you're doing in college now that they were teaching in college, you can get online.
Yeah.
We have so much
soak it in.
information.
Yeah.
You can go to free courses now from a lot of the
EDA
schools.
Yeah.
You can get the training. It's just you're not getting the piece of paper.
Like, what is
That's
a book?
what's paid for.
You could pay
Correct.
$15 a month to Audible to get a credit to listen to a book a month if you're not into reading, because reading's had a good run, but it's over. And so what is a book?
Yeah.
It is the distillation of a person's 10 years of thinking and 3 years of hard work and research distilled into 250 pages.
Yeah. Education, technically free with our libraries.
Yep.
I think it would be a good program, just like I think it'd be easier for people, they should make it easier for the people to show intelligence. You have something of it versus you went somewhere and paid a bunch of money and you got a sheet of paper.
Yeah.
It's like from Good Will Hunting, where he makes the line where he says, you spent $250,000 for an education you could have got for 15 cents in late fees at the local library.
Yep.
I feel like you're compounding interest, like, to put a bow on all this, like the compounding interest of values, of education, of finances. Like, when you think long term, it's whether you have kids or not.
Yeah.
Like, you can invest. I mean, I can't tell you quite the name of the podcast, but look up Elevate Indie. It's a podcast that I'm doing now for a client, and it is mentors, so people in the community who just are the one adult in the life of these kids that kind of cares, or like their parents care, but they're like, okay, there's a group called Starfish Initiative here locally, okay? And this is when I really, doing that public affairs radio show 5 years ago opened my mind to a lot. Starfish Initiative takes somebody like Rhinehold. You're college educated, right? You went to the military, but you're one of the smartest people I know, so I just assume I'm not. Did you go to college?
Yes, I went to college.
Where'd you go?
I went to IUPUI, Uipui.
Oh, okay. That's where we met. Yeah, because you were in college. Okay. So Harry, who is a black man in the suburbs of Indianapolis, the Starfish Initiative pairs you with a probably young white female or male, and because they intentionally cross cultures, and your sole purpose is to mentor a kid on how to go to college. And it's not hard. It's like, here's how to fill out an application because you've done that. Here's how to fill out a FAFSA because you've done that.
Here's how to set your schedule so that you know that you're not going to be able to get up at 8 in the morning for a class because that's the type of person you are.
Exactly.
Make it later in the day.
Exactly. And so, because these kids that they help work with literally have no one in their family that has ever gone to college, doesn't have any perception of how to do it. And so because the barrier to learn feels really high, everybody just kind of goes, give up on it, don't do it. Yeah. As opposed to Harry coming along and saying, oh, it's just too easy.
Yeah, this is super easy.
Well, that's the thing too, is I grew up without none one in my family had gone to college.
Right.
So I'm looking at 17, looking to go to college. Got really high scores of everything, and everybody's expecting me to go. And the guidance counselor at the school was supposed to be that person for you. And it's just did not. I mean, they had no clue what to do. And I had no interest in any of it, really. It was just like they wanted to mark off that you went somewhere so that they could say that they did their job. So I applied to Rose-Hulman. I get accepted. Then they come back and said that I hadn't had physics in high school, because it was only offered every other year at the small school I was at.
Yeah.
So they wanted me to go to junior college to take physics and then transfer into Rose-Hulman, which is very prestigious. And I was 17, didn't know any better. And I said, screw you. I do, with my whole attitude, and went down a whole trail of bad decisions after that. But
didn't you go to WGA too, Harry?
Yeah. Yes, I did.
You were doing that while we were doing the podcast.
Correct. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's, I will say, having school later in life is also 10 times easier, and I learned a lot from that, just from going back into school. I will give people the same advice I gave my nephew, who's 18, for college. It's going to seem very important to go to your dream school, blah, 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 blah. Don't do that. unless you actively know what you really want to do when you get out of college, you've got a direct path to that. You know this path that you're taking. This is a this is a tried and true method to get that job. Go do that. If you don't, you've got some pie in the sky thing, blah, 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 blah. Don't go to your regular 4-year degree. I recommend getting your first 2-year degree at like something like an Ivy Tech community college. Get in, get out as cheap as possible.
Yeah.
Because, and you're like, but is everyone going to care about community college? When you hit 40, no one cares really when you went to college until it's March.
Or if you get to college.
Yeah.
I technically do not have a bachelor's degree.
Yeah.
I've gone to enough schooling to get 2, but between the Navy and the nuclear power program that I went through and all that all can be translated and transferred into a college right now and almost give me a bachelor's degree.
Yeah.
And I was going to Phoenix to do that. And then there was a whole thing there, but, and then I go to WJ, I could do all that transferring and all that stuff. It doesn't matter at a certain point. I am working in a field that if you get your certifications in the technology you're in, if you show experience at doing what you've done, that's all you need.
Yeah, I had a lot of emotional turmoil in my early 20s, so I dropped out in 2005, and I went back and got myself off the double secret probation in 2019. I will finish my degree, but nobody's ever asked. Like, I've never had anybody even ask.
Once you get into a field and you have some experience,
I am considered, like, when people think of podcasting here in Indianapolis, I'm the first call guy. Like, just because I've done it so long and I have so much experience. Like, nobody goes, what's your degree in multimedia? And it doesn't matter.
Because the person who's got a degree in communications gave you your coffee, okay?
Right.
No, it's because also, like, when someone, like, even someone that like asks like for like our degrees is like, well, I could tell you, but like the VMs when I went to college never existed. Everything that you're having me work on didn't exist when I was in college.
Yeah, we had an HVAC issue yesterday. The guy that I opened the door and I was like shocked because the guy was like 22. And of course, I'm like, can you fix this? And of course, he didn't because it's out again. But the last guy that came to fix the HVAC was also like 23.
Yep.
Every guy that they called to come out to fix our problems at our house, they're all in their early 20s now.
Yeah.
Because you can't, going to college and getting saddled with all this debt doesn't do anything for you.
Plus,
we're writing entire articles right now at the IBJ about how these kids are getting out of college and cannot find work.
Right. And the worst part, too, is that a lot of the people who are like deans of the schools and colleges and stuff like that, they get stale in especially in the technology fields like I'm talking about.
Yeah. I
went to go back to IUPUI for a little bit, and I was going to go and say, okay, they wanted me to take like an intro to introduction to computers class or something silly like that. And I'm like, I've been doing this technology for 20 years already at that point. I said, I don't think I need to learn how to use Microsoft Word. Can you kind of maybe talk to me about this, getting out of this class? So he tries to drill me on some technologies. He's like, well, what stuff do you do? I said, well, I'm doing a whole virtual farm we're doing, at the time, it was like Citrix, VMware, not VMware, but Citrix environments and stuff like that. But before it was popular.
Citrix Zen.
So it was like, we had to have special servers up. And if you wanted to get more than 16 people on the same server, there's certain things you had to do to make this change. You could do this as a WAN connection. And he looked at me and says, you can't do that. That's not technically possible to do. I'm like, I'm doing it. You don't know what you're talking about. You're sitting here trying to judge me on my technical skills when you don't know what I know, and I'm supposed to be learning from you.
Yeah.
I just got frustrated with that.
Well, that's the other thing. We have allowed our education areas to like wall themselves off from the professional environment. People like us should be a smaller barrier to entry that we are to teach the institution things. College, we're institutions where people used to go teach. It would have been easy.
Right.
Like, instead of us doing other side hustles, our side hustle would have been teaching.
Yeah.
But they've made it so difficult to do that, because like, I bet if you did go up to like IUPUI, well, not that exists anymore.
It's always IUPUI to us.
You can go up there and like see if they had like a podcasting course and just audit it. You go like, wow, they have no idea what they're talking about. They're setting these kids up for failure.
Yeah, they're recommending Blue Yetis and Riverside.
Oh God,
which has been out of vogue for 8 years now.
Their textbooks say use Skype.
Blue Yeti should never, like, it's a terrible microphone. I think I've seen one person I've seen one Blue Yeti set up correctly, and the everything on it is more expensive than this stupid Blue Yeti microphone. It's almost like they just wanted to keep this mic. That's it.
So when I was walking through the airport on Monday, I noticed a sign for ISU in Terre Haute College, Indiana State University, home of Larry Bird.
Yep.
And their sign was 97% job placement. And I had lunch with someone who is a college professor in the humanities. And they're a longtime college professor, and they were very frustrated with they didn't know if they wanted to keep doing it because their job no longer is teaching you the humanities to teach you how to learn, to become a lifelong learner, and to apply these deep concepts to your life, to work. It's there. They said that, and this is IUPUI.
Yeah.
They said their entire existence and the way that they're judged by performance is job placement now. And they said this has just become a job program. Like college has become a job program, which on one hand, I'm like, that's bad because college is one of those places where it is supposed to be esoteric and you are supposed to have the freedom to learn things.
Right.
But I think and this is part of it's very much like a conservative trait. Like, if it's not directly functional, if it's not utilitarian, it has no value. Like, if it's not getting you a job, then what's the point of feminist studies? I don't know what the point of feminist studies is, but like, if somebody wants to go and make the choice to spend $500,000 on a feminist studies degree, that's their choice. As long as I don't have to bail you out because you can't find work. I don't know why we have to apply the utilitarian mindset to everything, where everything has an outcome attached to it. Some things don't have to have outcomes to it, and college is one of those places. But it has become a jobs program, and in some ways that's probably a better metric of success than something that is esoteric. So I don't know. I'm confused on it, but I'm just
is that learning how to learn thing, and that really should be done in high school. It should be done in junior high.
Yeah.
There's a time when it's easier to say to get kids to think a certain way.
Yeah, your first year of college is how to read, how to write, how to do basic math again, like
general studies. But
yeah.
So for me, when I was a young kid, I was kind of like not caring about studying stuff. I didn't care about this sort of thing, that sort of thing. I didn't read much, right?
Yeah.
Because it was kind of whatever. I'd go out and play and do things. And then one day I was forced to read. You have to read something and write a report about it. I was like, fine. I went to a store. I went to the little bookmobile that came around, and I found a book. It was full of short stories. And I was like, oh, cool, short stories. I don't have to read as much. I can just read the smallest one and I can get out in, right? And it was an Isaac Asimov collection. And I read a short story in there called The Last Question. And my mind has never been the same since.
We found
I've never stopped thirsting for learning knowledge
power
because of that. It just, when you're younger, there's a chance to get people like that. And it's much, much harder later on in life because people get set in their ways. So that's when I think in schools, and that's where you should be teaching people not how to pass this test in order to get the numbers up so go on to the next grade, and that's how teachers are then measured. It should be teaching them how to learn and how to teach themselves and how to look at life and see the bigger pictures and see things that they're not necessarily seeing, look at beyond the normals and get them thinking about it to a point where they can start making those decisions and become somebody better long before they have to go to a college and then have the information like switched around on them. Like when you go to the military, really what they do in the military, if you've been in there, is that the first few months are them just breaking you down so hard that they can build you back up in the way they think you should be.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that. It's kind of like that's what college has to do a lot now too, because we're not teaching our kids the stuff they need to learn in high school like they used to. The high school, I think they used to teach that a lot more in high school and a lot less.
Well, let me defend teachers a little bit because my wife's a teacher and I've got kids in the system. And so we're talking to teachers, and I know it's early on, but like if you talk to teachers, it's our system is sort of
jacked,
bizarrely set up to begin with. You know, we need cogs in the machine, so it's not really set up in 100 years later for critical thinking. But if you talk to teachers, the kids just don't want to do the work.
Yeah.
They don't want to be engaged.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think everything kind of goes back to the phones. So, like, to tie all this together, it's like, if you're unhappy, you're probably spending too much time on the black box. And if you went out and mentored a kid, you'd probably understand poverty differently. You'd understand college differently. You'd understand ethnicity differently. You'd understand your life differently. But people don't want to really engage in that. They just kind of want to check out because they're so overwhelmed. But then the thing that they're checking out into is causing the overwhelm. So if you don't have kids, if you don't have responsibility, and you just kind of feel like you're tossed around and lost, and you're probably just on a screen too much. And if you are a dink, dual income, no kids, you could go mentor and bless a charity in a way that I can't because I've got to pay. I didn't know socks were going to become a monthly subscription.
Yeah, subscription fee, yeah.
And there's you've got to think long term. And when we engage in those values that are deeply human, I heard in a documentary recently, every activity that humans undertake is a grab at being eternal. So everything we do, we're trying to have significance beyond our death. That's why, and if you really apply that to your work, to your kids, to your podcast, to your whatever, you're trying to not just make a difference in this life, but you're also trying to be remembered. Yeah. And that's futile. I couldn't tell you a thing about George and Ollie Risley, my great-great-grandparents. I didn't know their name until 2013, and I don't have the ability to look into them. But, if you're going to invest long-term in humanity, you've got to take some action beyond being a consumer. You've got to take on some responsibility, some duty, and do something. And
beyond being a commenter or
being a critic, yeah. I mean, but if you are those deeply human things like learning and writing and music and that little moment of like connection between you and another person, like that is going to make you less frustrated. It's going to make you less lonely. It's going to make you less angry about the state of the world. It's going to make you more informed. Like I'm so fortunate to be in a position in media where I get to talk to so many different people. I get to learn for a living. Editing podcasts is a great way to learn because I'm hearing from so many different perspectives about their like reality, like working for as a podcast editor for a newspaper. I get to hear like 5 to 7 different perspectives from different people a week in a conversation. And I think it's why it's given me such a different perspective than a lot of my other libertarian friends, like my buddy John, who I was arguing with this morning. I'm like, if you went to a charity and you volunteered, you'd understand this differently.
Yeah.
You'd understand that there's not much of a pull yourself up by the bootstraps unless you, John, are the bootstraps.
Yeah.
Or the one doing the pulling. We're all in this together. It doesn't mean that we have to force everybody to participate in the togetherness.
It should be something people want to do and have a drive to do. And
right.
The problem is we don't have that now.
Yeah, and so we've just kind of given up on what makes us human, and that means the clankers are going to take over, Harry. We can't let the clankers take over.
Now, hard R on that.
Yes.
Side question. Of the podcast you edit, what percentage of those are groaners? Like you just like
groaner in what way?
Like I gotta listen to this.
No, very few. I don't have.
So you're not editing Tim Pool. Good. Okay.
No,
I gotta regulate drones.
The thing about the podcasting world is that the people that get all the attention are politically, ideologically in the mix.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the formula for success is you need to newsjack and talk about the news of the day or whatever. But the vast majority of actual podcasts, leading Adam is a leader who goes to educational spaces and helps businesses, specifically educational institutions, understand where their processes are breaking down because they're mistreating their employees.
Yeah.
And so it's talking about the human element of how an organization functions and treating people basically through the golden rule.
Yeah.
I did an episode on his podcast. We put it in this. It is the IBJ podcast, where it is kind of the regular person who started a business and became successful and how they do it. It's Leaders and Legends with Robert Bain, who talks to like local leaders about their history. And what that's done for me is put me on the exact direct opposite chair from people who built projects that I said we shouldn't build this project. And hearing their reasoning, it's not evil. It comes from a deeply good place of, I want to use public funds to build this thing to enrich the city in these ways.
Yeah.
And you go, I don't agree with the funding mechanism, but I sure do agree with the heart that's behind it.
Correct.
So it is a lot of shows that I edit that are local, that are deeply committed to the community, and it's the people that are trying to tell their story to get anybody to give a shit. And so how do you, when you are doing work that is not front page news because it doesn't bleed or lead, it's humanitarian in nature, be it through business, through government, through nonprofits, whatever, podcast becomes this great platform because you really need to rent the studio we're sitting in for $200 a month, and now you have your own media outlet. Yeah. I don't know. I find it so frustrating that people get so lost in the currents of the news of the day.
And it's not so much the news of the day; it's the bomb throwing of it. It's it's the outrage culture. It's the clicking.
It's the otherizing,
and that's how people are. A lot of it's not sincere. A lot of it's people just chasing clicks and trying to do what they can to get there.
Yeah.
And my wife watches some of this stuff, and I'm looking at it, and it's just like people just and being super hyperbolic on both sides of the issues.
Yeah,
and it's like.
Let me give you an example. Okay, you can go listen to Business and Beyond with Gary Dick and Innovator Evaporate by Elevate Ventures. And if you are the type of person who thinks corporations are evil and everybody in business has bad intentions, you can go listen to those two podcasts, and every week you will hear stories of people who saw a problem and want to fix it and create jobs in the process. Right? Like, the business of business is taking care of humanity while also creating opportunities for people to take care of their family and their lives.
And just like anything, there's good intentions and there's bad intentions, right? Depends on the people running it. But
I don't think Peter Thiel has good intentions.
Right. I work for organizations, and every time I do, I always make sure it's an organization I feel comfortable working with. It's not going to be, if I don't feel comfortable working there, if I think they're doing something bad for the area that I'm living in or whatever, I'm not going to work for them.
Yeah.
But those exist. So you have to be careful of that. But most of the time, it's just corporations are just people who are running a business.
Yeah.
I've always disliked the corporate hate because a corporation is just a group of people. It's a
legal distinction.
But a lot of people say that society right now has given corporations human rights or whatever, legal rights as a human, which has never happened, and it's not happened now. They just are able to operate as a singleized entity, but they don't have like individual rights as a person does.
Well, this was the confusing thing about the COVID era. It's like, if a corporation wants to force you to take a vaccine, that's fundamentally different than the government forcing you to take the vaccine, because with government, it's monopolized violence. You don't have a choice.
Yeah.
But it also, like a corporation saying, yeah, you can voluntarily leave, but that's easier said than done.
Yeah.
Like, it's really hard to say I'm quitting my job.
It's icky because people are trying to make money and live their lives, and because they have a different opinion about a specific topic, it gets hard, because you also have to have a corporation has to be able to make sure that the rest of the workforce is feeling comfortable and safe too.
Yeah.
And if one person's coming in and making everybody else not feel safe.
But what was interesting is that a lot of people left their jobs, and what that created was this really great job market where for the first time in my life, the employee was in charge and not the employers, and because people were scrambling. So let's all quit next time.
Yeah, well, I think that a lot of that's going to happen, especially when some of these companies try to do their failed return to office crap. I still don't understand why people have an office if they're not doing things in person. There's really is no point of having an office. But
we got to where I wanted to be.
You work from home. I'm more in the office than I am home now. We should debate work from home next. Go ahead.
But I'm just saying, but the idea of the things that you go to the office to go do, you have to be there. That is something to do in person. Can it be done? Yes, but you understand the genuine connection of things that needs to happen.
Yeah.
It's the same thing we did with we're doing with the podcast. We're here in person. Yes, we could do this remotely, but we understand this genuine connection.
Yeah.
I'd be really ticked off if we got here and you put us in 3 individual rooms and didn't talk to us for 10, 15 minutes. And then we went home. I'm like, what the hell? I could have just been at home and did all this work.
We had a great conversation for 30 minutes after the podcast that we would not have had on Zoom.
Correct.
It's all right, I got to get downstairs because the kids need me, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I think there are creative collisions that happen in the office when everybody's there. It frustrates me when I make the effort to go in the office and then nobody else is there. I've just stopped going in most Fridays because there's literally the way to think about the office now is what do I need to achieve that day? Okay, do I need to achieve, in my case, a significant amount of editing?
Yeah.
Okay, can I best do that where the 2-year-old is bothering me, at my podcast studio where I tend to let my mind wander, or in my office where I can shut my door and just buckle down and be disciplined?
Correct.
But if my previous employer, where I couldn't shut my door and everybody talked to me all the time, I had to work from home because that's where I got the most stuff done.
Yep.
So I think but you've got to give the employee the decision where they're going to be the most effective. And then as their boss, set the parameters, hold them accountable to performance, and give them the choice. If somebody has a doctor's appointment at 2 p.m, if they got their stuff done, who really cares?
Right.
But I also think that it's really important to have people in the office. I'd love to have 1 day or 2 days a week where it's you have to be in the office. You may not have to be here 8 to 5, but everybody's got to be here that day, and that's meeting day because you're going to get results that you just don't get otherwise.
Right. I think it'd be great if you did something like that and it is a big, wide company meeting and it's not this is what I'm doing, a showcase. It's just more we're in a room. We're going to be here today and this is the day to collaborate.
Bob and Tom had their meeting on Wednesday and everybody came in for the meeting. It was an hour meeting. Everybody checked in on Wednesday. Now they do it once a month. But I had to go in on Wednesdays. And then I would be there for 3 hours after the meeting because people were hey, I need to talk to you. I hadn't had a chance to.
Yeah.
So, and I felt that's good because then I can manage it and go, okay, Wednesday's meeting day. I'm going to be there. We're going to have these meetings.
Yeah.
I think it is also very dependent upon the type of person you are.
Yeah.
And the type of work you're doing.
Yes.
Yeah. So in my case, if I'm usually working for other clients and things like that for them. Me going into the office kills it because everybody wants to talk, everybody wants to hang out. I have to go into a locked room and close the door to get work done, and I'm I could be at home doing that.
I don't think you even have a physical office for where you work, do you? Do you? Okay.
I don't have a personal office. We have a location where we can come in and sit a bullpen type of area where you can come and sit down and do stuff.
Is it here locally?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's in the city, but a good example, but I have a great example here of a case where, so we do these large projects for other companies, and sometimes it does make sense that there's some FaceTime. So we were doing this large project and we were doing a huge migration of stuff, and we had one of our engineers on site while we were doing this, and the rest of us were working remotely. The CIO of the company was there, and there were some things that were happening because of the people working at the company we were helping with, not giving good information, not knowing what they're really doing, stuff like that. And we're having to fix it and cover it and take care of it. If that had all been remote, the CIO wouldn't have seen that.
Yeah.
But because he was working closely with that one engineer who was there, he was able to see the bad data they were getting, the frustration it was causing, the amount of scrambling that we were doing and making it right and getting the job done anyway. And now we've got a customer pretty much for life because of that. If it hadn't been there, he may have switched the other way, believed his people, and then blamed my company for the failures that would have happened if it hadn't been there. So I think that there are cases where it really is important to have that, but there's also a lot of times where I can work on 4 or 5 clients in a day. Easy. Just do this, do a couple hours here, do an hour here on this project, do an hour or 2 on this project, have a meeting for this project. And if I'm having to go to those places to do that, I can't help that many people. I can't do that much work.
Yeah, I mean, there's times where it's like, man, that 30 minutes it's going to take to get ready, really an hour to get ready, get in the car, drive 10 minutes to work, walk in, then I'm going to go get Chick-fil-A breakfast burrito. Then, you're going to take 30 minutes to get home. It's like, I could just save that hour. I do think
that's time I could be spent with my wife and my family.
But here's I think I'm a conservative person. I'm a Republican adjacent. It's never going to change. Bernie Sanders says he's for Trump's immigration policies. I'm completely mystified by that.
I'm not. It's how immigration started. It was the far left and the far right getting together.
I don't follow Democrat politics and the inner workings. I don't understand it.
It's labor.
It's just labor stuff.
Okay, gotcha. But we tend to be very protective and want to build little protective bubbles in our culture. Let's homeschool.
Left and right does that. Yeah.
Let's go work at a place where people think like us. Maybe it's human nature. I live in this camp, so I see it. I think there are some real harmful effects to society from work from home.
Okay.
In that it diminishes people's muscles and appetite for pluralism, their ability to tolerate people different than them in some way. Because then you're just at home on an algorithm all day, and your socializing is the algorithm that you see. Hold on. And secondly, people don't have people. Would you two stop? People used to find friendships and relationships from the people that they work with, and it's harder to do if you're just doing it online. It's easier when you're in an office to say, "Yeah, Dave, Rita's looking for a husband. Go check her out." And then he adds her on Facebook.
And gets sexual harassment training. Seminar there.
The Jim and Pam happens in office places. Get used to it.
It does happen, but those are rare. It's gotten rarer and rarer.
You don't have to deal with the Michael Scotts. If you take The Office, you don't have to deal with people that annoy you. Which in life, I'm sorry. I have to say to my 6-year-old, I'm sorry that is a bully exists, but you're going to have to just work. Is a bully will be there. Every job you ever have, your family will annoy you. Not us, because we're perfect, but your brother probably.
So me, myself, I work completely remote. I cross political lines, cultural lines constantly in my personal life. I'm not seeing what you're seeing. I can see how it can happen, but I also am not seeing that. I can sit there and do yoga and mess with a lot of people think just crazy blue hair liberals all day. Don't care. Some of my best friends that can also hang out with a bunch of women and talk feminism for hours. Doing that. Do that with my friends. Then I can also go shooting and hang out with my Trumpy neighbors and just have fun.
You also are a very extroverted person.
Right. Yes,
and you are the exact opposite. We're talking about right now.
And I can explain to you how it's different on my case.
Okay.
Is that I, being fully remote, have access and do constantly have meetings with other people. And I interact with lots of other people, a lot more than I ever could if I was going out and meeting them. I work with people in California. I work with one of the guys I'm working with on this one project is from central Mexico, outside of Monterrey. I work with people in Europe this morning. I've been doing migrations for this company. I've been up at 3 a.m. doing migrations in Europe with these people. I'm talking to people in Netherlands and Sweden and UK and having conversations with them. We're just joking about stuff while we're doing some work. There's always that conversation and stuff that I'm having online. I'm just not doing it.
But in my experience, you don't run into the pitfalls of the difficulty. So it's easy to find common ground when you can log off. It's harder when you have to have community and relationships with people where you're forced to have them in person and you are around them to the point that you have a greater probability of dealing with annoyances, issues, personal problems when you're in person than you are online. So really what this is, Rhinehold, we didn't want to tell you. This is an intervention. We want you to get out. This is the first time he's seen people in 14, since the last time we got together. 10 Just teasing. But I do stand by. I think like in-person work, in-person community of any type, be it church, political activities, yoga, like you have a greater probability of having to deal with people's shortcomings, which is really where like the rubber meets the road. And
I work in IT. I deal with people's shortcomings constantly.
You don't understand the amount of people and issues that I run into in what you're regarding us.
Yeah.
Higher number percentage than you have ever seen.
Yeah.
Because people are a-holes on.
No, I mean, I'm dealing with so many people because it's so easy to contact and talk with people.
Right.
I'm dealing with them. Like we had one of the people we were working with was presenting himself as being a super knowledgeable person about his stuff. We come to find out after conversations with him and over again that he did nothing. And he was constantly trying to change everything and cause problems with everything we were doing. Every time we put a plan together, he tried to change it at the last minute, wouldn't tell anybody. It was just a terrible experience working with this guy. I run into that all the time. I run into people who are just jerks a lot. And that's in consulting. You're always talking to people all the time, just dated. Yeah. I had a meeting yesterday that I got thrown into that I thought was about one topic. It was about something else that I didn't have as much knowledge of. And they're expecting me to be the expert. I have to figure this out and tell them. I said, you have the choice. I can lie to them, which is not what you should do. I know people who've done that and they got caught and they got fired. But no, I just tell them, I don't know exactly about this, but I know about the concept of what you're trying to do. Let's see if we can work it out. And I was able to solve a problem for them. Mm-hmm. Right. But it wasn't an easy conversation. I have a lot of hard conversations with a lot of people in that regard. And in just knowledge, there will be people on a call who'll come up and say, oh, I'm a New England fan for football, and I have to deal with that horribleness of somebody being a Patriots fan, right? I have to accept them and be part of.
Maybe it is easier online. So let me
hold on. It'll get with this. Like, but I think it's that hour that I would use and plus to go to like different jobs and stuff like that. Yeah, I use it to go spend time with my community, go out and do different stuff. Just because you go to a place and be with enough people to know that you talk to them. My wife does that, right? And she doesn't talk. It took her like 2 years and she went to like one dinner with them. She worked at an Amazon warehouse, went there 10 plus hours a day. They don't really talk. They won't really communicate with them. And most jobs don't want you to do that. They want you to be automatons who can come in and have that factory mindset when you go to somewhere. You know, that's why like I think a lot of offices suck and why they saw so much productivity when they went home, because cubicles and no privacy sucks. When you're at home and be private, no one looking over your shoulders, you can get a lot of freaking work done. Yeah. You know, without someone bothering you. You know, and then like the community aspect, like, yeah, I think it makes you cherish the different times that you are together. And I think that's why you find those times when you're in the office, you cherish those more often. If you're in the office 40 hours, like, you be getting ready to get rid of these people, just like you get ready to get rid of your family when you're hanging out with them all week. But so you cherish the time when you have them and makes it more important. I think managers, especially for remote teams, it's very important, because my company does this, is you get together. Since we don't have a physical office, it's okay that the IT team decides to, hey, we're going to go spend the 3 days in Dallas. We're all going to go to Dallas for 3 days. We're going to do a bunch of work together, and then we'll go back home.
So let me say this. Maybe the opportunity to be annoyed is actually greater online. So maybe you're convincing me that, like, so let's talk White House before we go, because we've got 15 minutes or 10 minutes. Yeah. I'm not annoyed that Trump tore down the White House. Like, I find it annoying because it's like, you should follow the rules that all the other presidents followed, and it's just very indicative of Trump. I don't have to file the right permits. This is my house. I not only own this house, I own the people that I'm ruling over. I am in charge. The rules don't apply to me. And the people who tend to think the rules don't apply to me and I should use the rules to punish other people don't seem to have a problem with it. But those are the same people who also complain about a white coat of paint at Cracker Barrel. Yeah. And the same people who don't seem to have a problem with this at all and don't know why you're upset also complain constantly about how ugly architecture is.
Yeah. Well, Obama did some renovations in the White House. Everybody left out.
The basketball court.
But I think if we were having these conversations in person, it would be less annoying. But Aaron, Tad, and I have been going back about this, and Ulrich and I have been arguing about this because my fundamental position is as follows. It's not a big deal in the grand scheme of things because it's a building. It's a much bigger deal when Trump turns off people's SNAP benefits, deports innocent people to El Salvador. Like, those are human beings being harmed. This is a building being harmed. But I am for historic preservation. The East Wing was built out of the original timber of the White House, and had we gone through the proper protocols, he would have gotten his ballroom. But if he had gone through the proper protocols, we could have saved those pieces, maybe taken this down in a responsible manner and preserved it in a different location or a different way. But he doesn't think any of that applies to him because he thinks he rules over us. It's not the people's house that is owned by the federal government. It's his house.
Yes.
And if he is, and it's not taxpayer funded, which it will be eventually, those people are going to get something. The $1 million that Sam Altman from OpenAI puts into the inaugural ball turns into $1 trillion in government subsidies and contracts from countries across the globe. Like, nothing Trump does is just because he's beneficent. It's because
transactional.
He's getting a cut. There's some benefit to him. I have no doubt that he plans to stay. If you listen to Steve Bannon in an interview yesterday, he's staying. They're working on how to figure out how to violate the Constitution. And I'm not irritated by him tearing down the East Wing. To be honest, Harry, that's the women's wing, so it can go.
That's why we need women's studies.
Okay. I'm joking. It was a joke. Don't cancel me. But
send hate mail too.
It's that people who... Okay, there's a process to this, like when you're arguing with people. It kind of starts, like, if you're coming from the right, like I'm coming from a limited government perspective, a president should have to follow the rules. There should be rules in place to protect federal property. Okay, that is a libertarian position, because if we all agree that this is federal property, then there should be a dispersed process of making decisions. And the people who inhabit that house then need to follow those rules, just as if your HOA or the historical commission in your town says you have to follow these rules, like, you don't have recourse. You can't build a privacy fence if the HOA or the town says you can't do it. We are sitting and going and begging these people to build a mini barn.
Yeah.
And they say no, and there's nothing we can do about it. You can't just build the mini barn.
Right.
But, like, all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. Like, Trump gets to just do whatever he does. The rules don't apply to him, but they apply to you and me. Like, that's not fundamentally fair. That's not fundamentally American. Like,
Supreme Court says it is.
The president should be the supreme servant of the people and should steward public affairs justly and correctly and through the rules. And so if you come at it from the right in that perspective, here's the 3-step process that you get back. Name calling and mockery because they think being called a leftist is the worst thing possible. You're just you're a pink hair, you don't understand, you've got TDS. Like, I've got to diminish you by calling you gay or a woman, or your masculinity's in question, or you're a leftist or whatever. So when that doesn't work, then they go to some action taken by Democrats, where the Democrat has followed the rules. Barack Obama building a basketball court, and he followed the rules to build the basketball court, or the Rose Garden being created, or Truman tearing down, renovating the East Wing, where he followed the rules.
Correct.
And then when you say it's not about that action, it's about the psychology of a president, of a politician who is... these cafeteria conservatives want to take one little thing and say, this is the White House piece, and I'm not mad about that, so it's no big deal. But you have to put it all together. Like, one of these friends, Tad, said, well, name one way he's centralizing power. And so I replied, tore down the East Wing before getting approval, forced any major law firm that could have the resources to oppose him into a deal that gives his administration pro bono hours or else they lose funding and access to the courts, forced universities into deals that give the president control over once independent organizations. Basically, any institution that can oppose his power, universities, media, nonprofit, science agencies, historical agencies, law firm, courts, the military, corporations have had their balls cut off using DEI, quote unquote, which is an excuse. Gannett, for instance, had to erase DEI from their website, the largest newspaper corporation, or else they would lose funding. The funding's the problem, by the way. It's the power that the president has over these people. It's not Trump or Obama, or it's the power. You've got to reduce the power. The executive order to bring independent agencies like the FCC, the SEC, the FTC under White House control, granting budget directors supervisory control over performance and budgets. His Supreme Court granted him an immunity. He wants to invoke the Insurrection Act over no emergencies. And quote unquote, the person close to the White House described the process as working its way up the ladder, and he thinks he has quote unquote unquestioned power. The expanded use of emergency and national security powers, i.e. EPA, NEA, the border emergencies, and increased use of executive orders to divert and bypass Congress, implementation of the unitary executive theory, trying to fire Jerome Powell despite it being illegal, expanded immigration and deportation powers, including invoking the Alien Enemies Act, used executive action to impose tariffs and trade restrictions, bypassing Congress, which was the largest tax increase in American history, eliminated inspector generals, asserted greater commander-in-chief powers through unilateral military actions like killing Venezuelans, which are Colombian fishermen who they just claim are Venezuelans half the time, limited congressional access to classified and intelligence actions, set new precedents for stronger executive power, which won't disappear, and massively expanded the immigration infrastructure, raising the budget to the third largest army in the United States. And they go, then they go to the third step, which is they just give up. They go, well, I voted for all that. That's what I wanted to happen.
Cope.
I don't care.
He's got to do that stuff to fix all the stuff that the liberals broke.
Yep.
So they start with the name calling, and then they go to the both sidesism, and then they go to, well, I don't care. This is what I voted for, which is when they expose that they agree with the increase in power, right? And then they go back at you again and say you're not a real libertarian because you don't agree with the centralization of power. And it happens.
The monarchy that's being established.
Yeah.
It's about a comprehensive view of government.
Yeah.
I stood there in the tea parties next to the people with the Hitler mustaches on Barack Obama because the psychology of Barack Obama was that we need to increase and expand the power of government into these ways. And maybe he viewed it as this was a good thing because it's going to help people. But he was wrong because our health insurance premiums are about to go up 20%. And they've gone up 20% every year since Obamacare was implemented. Their ideas are wrong. They don't work. But you know what else doesn't work? The exact same ideas on the other side with a more racist face to it.
Yeah.
So the reality is we're entering a period where you're going to have to choose a side between socialism and fascism. And either way, it's an increased power of the government and increased encroachment into your life. And you're going to get name called. You're going to get told that you don't matter. And there's like 14 of us that still believe that the American vision of the United States of limited government, a pluralistic society, a society where when the public owns a piece of property, it's accessible to all regardless of their race, color, creed, that immigration actually makes America better and helps society. Like there's 14 of us. You're listening to us. But the White House, if you're confused why people are upset about this, it's because it's not just about the White House and the East Wing. It's the visual representation of a person that thinks he can take a wrecking ball to the government and there are no consequences for it whatsoever. And he can do whatever he wants. And that is the rule of man, which is the opposite of the rule of law, which is the founding vision of the United States government at the federal level, the state level, and the local level. It's that the government is to be constrained. And when one person thinks that they can no longer be constrained, and then everybody around him says, yeah, he can't be constrained, he can do whatever he wants, he can have a third term despite the 22nd Amendment, you should be alarmed. And if you're not alarmed and you're not passionate about maintaining the founding of the United States of America in the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, then what's wrong with you? I don't get it. So yes, I'm passionate about this. I'm not having a crash out, like Aaron said. I'm confused why somebody who claims to be a libertarian does not want to admit what is going on. And I have to only think that you don't want to admit what is going on because then you might end up becoming a liberal. You don't want to be made fun of. You don't want to have to undergo that 3-step process, and you emotionally can't handle being called a leftist because you spent 10 years being a dick to them and your friends will make fun of you. So you don't want to give up on that and be called a Democrat. Not a Democrat. I'm actually more libertarian than I've ever been because it's so clear and obvious that you have to constrain power. Mm-hmm. Power is the issue. Remove the power. Remove the ability for any president to do these things. Remove the power for the president to force companies to force you to have a vaccine. Remove the power for the president to create an ICE budget that is almost as big as the Marines. It's not exactly as big as the Marines. Like, we should not have the Chicago and NYPD police departments having street fights with ICE agents, which happened yesterday. Like, it is so clear. If you understand history and you read history and you know the founding and you were there at the Tea Party and you said all these things about when Barack Obama bought the bullets for the IRS, Harry and I were sitting here going, what do you think the outcome of this is? Where do you think the end result of this is? If you don't put a stop to it, where do you think this goes? And I'm telling you right now, you have to ask the same things about the Republicans if you are still a libertarian. If you're just on board with the project to have the power to smash the left, do us a favor and stop calling yourself a libertarian. You're not a libertarian. You love power. You want more power. And if you want more power, just call yourself what you are. Admit it. We'll have more respect for you instead of lying to our faces and name-calling us as if we're the weird ones and we're the ones who are inconsistent and we're the ones who are stupid. I'm not stupid. I read. I understand history. I have been a libertarian for 20 years. I've studied this stuff deeply. I know the patterns of encroaching authoritarianism. I'm not crazy. You're deranged. You're delusional. Stop lying to yourself. Please. I'm over it. I've had enough of it. It is so frustrating to have your friends, the people who say that they love you, talk to you like you're an idiot who can't read the news, who can't look in front of your face and see that 2 + 2 = 4. It's the same as like when you got frustrated at your friends who said, well, Charlie Kirk was killed by this or that or blah, blah, blah. It was not a trans leftist, blah, blah, blah. 2 + 2 = 4. Look at the man. He thinks he can tear down the White House without going to get congressional approval. And there's no recourse because there is no recourse. And so what happens when a man who psychologically thinks there are no rules that can stop him to do what he wants to do? What's the end result of that? When there is a political project, a group of politicians who think the rules don't apply to them. It doesn't matter if you like them more than you dislike the other guys. The end result is you will be ruled over. And so you can say, oh, these No Kings people are all crazy, but they're doing the exact same thing with the same psychology and the same motivations that I did and you did when we went back and did the Tea Party. Like, they sound exactly the same. They look the same. They're saying the same things. And the same thing's going to happen. Tea Party Express is going to roll in. They're going to start programming the No Kings rallies. They're going to start collecting email addresses. They're going to start emailing your grandma and saying they're going to destroy the country. You've got to send me $500 right now. And we're not going to save the country unless you pay me. And then the people who run the Tea Party Express are going to get rich. The people who run BLM, they're going to get mansions in Los Angeles. So the same thing's all going to happen. But you know what happened with the Tea Party is the Democrats are going to do what Republicans did. They'll be in the wilderness. Then they'll have these rallies. Then they'll start building the channels of communication, of political organization that will then lead to Donald Trump becoming president and having a pretty serious amount of power. because Barack Obama and George Bush expanded the centrality of the executive office, which gave them a ton of power. And now look, all those times that we said, Barack Obama, you shouldn't do that because you're going to get somebody who disagrees with you, get in there and have all these powers, and you're not going to like it. All that's happening. And now, Republicans, I'm saying the same thing to you. All these expansions of executive power that you don't like, that's all going to happen. And I don't want to hear your fucking bullshit when it happens in the next Democratic administration, because they are organizing through these rallies, through these different movements to bring up a younger generation of political talent. And you know what? They're not our grandparents' Democrats who care about the United States Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. They're socialists. So what you're doing is actually making it more likely for socialism to flourish. And you're making it more likely because of backlash. The further a political movement pushes on things and disobeys the consent of the governed, the harder the backlash. And so I don't want to hear it. All you right-leaning libertarians who love the Mises Project, who are listening to this, calling me a lib in your mind, I don't want to hear it. I'm just going to copy and paste your posts when you fuck around and find out, because I'm sick and tired of hearing about the left while you're doing the same thing. All right, thanks. I had to get that off my chest.
I understand it, because that's what I was feeling a couple years ago myself. That's why I get called a lib all the time. That reason.
Well, you're a lib.
I think
that's what I'm saying. I wrote against Obama. I called him a war criminal. I called him an unconstitutional president because he was violating the law, sending out military and doing Syria. And it doesn't matter, because nobody cares about that. They just care about their side winning.
Yep.
Yeah. And and if you think so, a lot of the safeguards that basically I want to technically slow down or of the Obama agenda, they're gone.
Remember in that period when we'd say, Democrats are like on a speeding bullet train to authoritarianism, and the Republicans are on like a bicycle.
Right.
That feels like it's flipped.
It's flipped. So yes, Trump's third term, Trump going for a third term, worrisome. Obama's third term scares me less than Trump's third term.
I think it's, no matter what, you're going to have a more radical vision of government. Yeah. Trump has completely shifted the right from we need to follow the Constitution to Thomas Massey and Rand Paul should be assassinated.
Yeah, might makes right. It is that.
It's exactly right.
Almost lack of a better term, fascistic term.
Well, that's exactly what it is. Like the rule of
trying to find another term.
The rule of law is exactly why you constrain exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
Patrimonialism is the oldest form of government. It is the people with the most power and the most weapons collect the most money to make money for themselves, specifically their family. Barron Trump is going to be on the board of TikTok. Mm-hmm. There is a new drone program at the Pentagon that Donald Trump Jr. is going to profit from. Yeah. There's a crypto coin that jumps up like crazy right before every time there's an announcement on tariffs. Mm-hmm. Like there is a financial entanglement at every turn. And so we have the vague, troubling Biden crime family allegations.
Yeah.
On steroids. Mm-hmm. But the people who were against the Biden crime family are like so fine with the Trump crime family, right? And I think what really is going on is you have to accept that everything is on the table. Mm-hmm. You have to accept that anything is possible. The center may not hold. The Republicans will not come to their senses. The Democrats will not be able to constrain power. They may not regain power. There may be elections, but they may not be meaningful. That's why J.D. Vance is here over at our state house at every turn trying to bully our Congress, our legislature, into giving them 2 more congressional seats. They're cheating.
Yeah,
they're
cheating. Yes,
they're sending.
It's cheating.
They're cheating to rig the vote to make sure that they maintain power, because Donald Trump thinks that if he doesn't die before he's out of office, which is why he's so concerned with heaven, if he's out of office, they're going to prosecute him again for all the emoluments. Jared Kushner left the White House and 2 weeks later got a $2 billion paycheck from the Saudi government to his consulting firm. He was the one that negotiated the arms deal for Saudi. So he was getting a kickback.
Yes.
There's no other term for that. You hear the UAE, or what was the country, where the guy's like, hey, have Eric call me. We'll put a golf course here in our Middle Eastern oil country so we can get favorable terms. It is the selling of America for their own benefit. It's patrimonialism. Look up the word. Get on ChatGPT and ask them the hallmarks of patrimonialism, and you will see it. That's not libertarianism. That's not republicanism in the small r term. That's not democracy in the small d term. It's not the founding of the United States of America. And so as we enter the 250th, I beg of you, don't be like a COVIDiot, a person that was a Democrat friend of yours who fell for all the propaganda and then 5 years later goes, yeah, I think we may have taken that too far. I sort of regret how I talked about people. I wish I hadn't taken the shot.
Yeah.
But they fell for all the propaganda and all the heat around it, right? It's a red scare that we're in the middle of. And don't be a person who 5-10 years from now goes, yeah, I wish I hadn't done X, Y, or Z or advocated for X. But that's, I fell for yellow cake.
Yeah.
I fell for all the Iraq propaganda. I know what it looks like. I'm not doing it again. Yeah. You're not getting me, Harry.
I'm confident, or Indiana Republicans are competent in their incompetence to not restrict it. Because I looked at that redistricting map and I'm like, well, that's how our state goes purple. I dare you to do it. That looks stupid.
This is a state that Barack Obama won in 2008.
That's how we go purple. The way there's a reason why they made that box of Marion County. Keep that separate.
Yeah,
I want you guys to help
one place and centralize it
versus have it put dude, that's 3 housing projects.
So
you can easily spoon.
Here's the danger for libertarians. Okay.
Yeah.
They redistrict in Indiana.
Yeah.
There is going to be a backlash. Where's that backlash going to present itself? It's probably going to be in the Secretary of State's race. Diego Morales is the Secretary of State. He's an immigrant to this country. They like him.
Yeah.
He is giving no big contracts to his brother-in-law. He's giving out, of the 72 staff, he gave 68 spot bonuses, totaling hundreds of thousands of dollars extra. He's buying a $100,000 car for himself. He is taking vacations to Hungary to talk with Orban's people on our dime. He's doing all these things that are just fundamentally corrupt. Like Charlie White, the Secretary of State, went to jail for voting in a different district than where he lived because the people 15 years ago who ran the state government said we can't have our chief election official vote where he doesn't live. Diego also votes where he doesn't live, and he's doing all these other things, and he's just so unrepentant about it, and enter Bo Bai, the grandson of Birch Bai, the U.S. Senator who introduced the legislation to the 25th Amendment, I think was Bo Bai. Evan Bai, his son, was governor, senator, secretary of state. Now, his son is running. He's like movie star handsome. He's got access to 4 generations of political funding mechanisms. He's got energy. He's got a name ID, which name ID is everything in politics. Like having run a political party, the reason libertarians don't win is that they don't have name ID. Rupert from Survivor runs 5 years after he's on the #1 hit TV show. He's got 50% name ID, got 100,000. You basically have 100,000 more votes because people knew who Rupert was. So what is that? The Libertarian Party gets ballot access by getting 2% in the Secretary of State's race. They redistrict. People feel it's existential to send a message to the ruling Republican Party. They vote overwhelmingly for Bo Bai, who has the money to raise his name ID, including a lot of libertarians. And the Libertarian Party loses ballot access in a top 3 solid LP state for 4 years.
I don't think that'll happen.
Why?
Because I think there's going to be people who won't want Diego in, but they won't feel comfortable enough to pulling the Democrat tag. They'll go to the third party to do it. That's a protest vote.
I think things are becoming so existential on both sides that people look at it and go, they're fighting for the gun. I've got to choose a side. And if I'm in Indiana, I'm going to vote against the Republican Party because they have single party rule.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got to send them a message, so I might as well do it in this race because we're all in it together.
Michael Beckwith as in charge of your state.
Lots of reasons. I'm just putting that prediction out there. I think the Libertarian Party should be concerned for sure. All right, final thoughts, Harry.
I think I'll touch back on the aspect on the teacher things. Yeah, we love teachers. It is more of the institution, the administration that has put them in this weird box, not the teachers themselves. The aspect to teach and lots of different people.
The federal government?
Yeah, and they sacrifice. Yeah, and federal government did this to them. And like I've said to a lot of people who do want to learn these different humanities and arts and other music, that you don't have to go to college for those. You can find it a lot cheaper outside of that and learn those different things there. And it stinks that the way colleges has almost priced out what they do at that type of level. It's a lot of different education that you can do on your own, a lot of different little small programs you can do outside of that. So, and I encourage people to do something that technically that doesn't make money. It is something for you to enrich your soul.
Yeah.
That is what you need.
My thoughts are twofold. One is it's not the teacher's fault at all. I never wanted to even make that even thought process happen. They're trying their best they can do. And the fact that they don't have the ability to brainwash the kids to do that sort of thing, I don't know where people get the idea that they're brainwashing them to do all these other things either, but that's all.
Siege. Our kid's teacher is quitting because she keeps getting hit in the face by a first grader.
Yeah. But the other thing is, the part of the problem with them is that the people who are not wanting to admit what they're seeing and what's going on is that they can't, because it's part of their identity. And number two, they would have to then admit that I was right about something, and they can't do that.
I know a lot of people who don't want Rhinehold to be right about anything. It is interesting how having a person in your circle that believes the opposite of you politically, how much that drives, like, we can't handle it. It's not a right-leaning thing. It's like literally existing in the world where I am friends with my buddy John and Tad, and then also friends with Ms. Pat and Dion, is a very uncomfortable place to be, because you make concessions both places where you're like, yeah, I see your point of view and I agree with it, but they don't agree, so then they yell at you for being friends with the other people, and it's just, I don't know. It's I like the tension some of the time, most of the time, but I also know why people just don't want that tension. All right, well, thanks for joining us here on the show. We appreciate it. Good first half. I ranted the second half. I apologize.
You said what we were all thinking for years.
Yeah, we all could have made that rant.
Like, what are you thinking?
I have at some point in time, probably, many times.
And mostly I just want to eat. I have not had breakfast, and
Same.
I'm hungry.
Yeah.
I'm hungry.
Yeah, I'm hungry.
And our nephew's at our house all day today, so my son's going to be super happy. That just means 3 diapers. Ugh.
It's fun.
You know what's hilarious? I don't know if this ever happened to you. You're changing a poopy diaper for a 3-month-old, and then they just start farting shit all over the place. It's not funny in the moment, but I thought about it as like, that was actually really funny. Like, you take the diaper off and then they go and just shit all over your shirt. That's my life right now. So
No. Because the dad class I took warned about that.
Mm-hmm.
So you switch it out quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Poor Lucy has a little cough, and so cute. This little 3-month-old body going. Not as funny as 2:30 in the morning, but she got her first shower today. So we put her in the hot, steamy shower. Nice. She hated it. It worked. She stopped coughing, but it's just so funny. These little humans who are tiny, who do adult things.
Yeah.
So, all right, everybody. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Y'all have a good day.